this is already hands down the best World Cup that I've been seeing. And I've been watching the World Cup since 2010, and I know there's only a small sample size of me watching the World Cup, but this is by far the best one. Even better than the 2014 and the 2010 one. And it's only day two. I mean, the amount of drama that it has happened for obviously the right reason. I don't want to really get to the wrong reason because we all know that there's a lot of drama and controversy for the wrong reason, but we will not talk about that. But yeah, I mean, all three of these games deliver some late drama, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be talking about this game, and I will get to this game last, unfortunately. As much as I want to talk about it now, I want to get into these games in order, and we're going to start with this one, and yeah, that must be absolutely gut-punching for Egypt. I mean, that is an absolute heartbreaker for them. They really look very good in this game against Uruguay, especially in the first half where they really went toe-to-toe. And Uruguay they look very lackluster in this game, and especially the first half where just the entire midfielder looks so slow for them, and it just got to a point where even their captain Diego Godin had to go forward to try to create something because of how bad the midfield is. And I think that is probably going to be a huge concern coming into these next couple of games and even throughout this World Cup for Uruguay, of how slow and how bad that midfielder was in the first half. But, Egypt, they were definitely doing well in the first half. Unfortunately, the problem for Egypt is that, they just seem like every time when they get into that attack, the players are they kind of panicked a little bit, don't really have a lot of composure. And obviously the biggest talk about this game is why in the world did Mo Salah did not come off the bench for this game. He was on the bench for this game as pretty much everybody expected. I mean, there was a small chance that maybe he will be starting for this game, but a lot of people think that he was going to be on the bench, and he was coming off the bench. In fact, everybody kind of knew he was coming off the bench. Even the announcer said it like 6 or 7 times. I mean, the Fox Sports 1 announcer even said like 6 or 7 times during the game that, when is Salah is going to come? Salah is going to eventually come. And he never did. He never came on the pitch. He never got substituted. And when that goal scored by Uruguay in the 89th minute by Jimenez, you can see how frustrated that Salah was. And I don't blame him. I think this is a huge mistake by the Egyptian manager. I don't understand why in the world do you not bring Salah on the pitch. I mean, Egypt right around the second half, they literally, all they need right now is that they need to bring on their best player to finally get that crucial goal, since Uruguay wasn't really playing very well. And besides the midfield problem for Uruguay, how about Luis Suarez in this game? I mean, he had an absolute shocker of a game. I mean, I cannot believe he did not score in this game. He had 3 or 4 chances to score in this game. He could have scored in the 89th minute, where, I'll tell you what, that really, that hit from the side netting literally fooled everybody. It even fooled the person that was in charge of keeping the score on Fox Sports. They thought that Uruguay just took the lead. And for a second when the announcer says, "Oh, that is..." And I thought, oh, did Uruguay just score? But it turns out that it was actually hit it into side netting. But the angle, with the way how the illusion was, it looked like that actually went into the back of the net. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Uruguay fans were celebrating that they thought they scored the first goal, even though it actually hit the side netting. And, for Uruguay, they were really kind of pushing forward in the last 15 minutes of the game. They were really knocking on the door. Cavani hit the post on a free kick right around the 82nd minute, and just as you thought that it was probably not going to be the day for Uruguay and that Egypt was going to get a massive draw, because remember how I said yesterday where If Egypt can get this draw, that just shifts all the pressure now to Russia, with the fact that now they going to eventually have to not only maybe beat Egypt but also get a draw against Uruguay if they want to go through. But unfortunately, that of course didn't happen because Jimenez to the rescue, and it was just again a needless foul. Egypt were really losing kind of their discipline in the last couple of minutes. As good as the defense was for the first 87 minutes or so, the last couple of minutes they just looked. I don't know if it was that their defense just got tired or something, but they started to lose a little bit of discipline. They started to make some unnecessary foul, give up free kicks to Uruguay, and eventually, when that cross came in, Jimenez basically hits it into the back of the net, and Uruguay definitely survived this game. But I just think that if you look at how Uruguay played in this game, this is not a team that is going to make it far from the World Cup. And as much as people talk about how this team could potentially make it really far into the World Cup, and that this is probably their last chance with their main core, that is Luis Suarez, Cavani, and Godin there, the way that they perform in this game, yeah, that is not going to get you really far into the tournament. The fact that you have trouble against Egypt is a little bit of an issue. And Salah didn't even play in this game. Imagine if Salah played in this game. I think Egypt could have potentially maybe even get a win in this game. But yeah, moving on into the next match. So as many people expected, this was going to be a low-scoring game, and it almost ended 0-0 as many people predicted. But unfortunately, Morocco, just like Egypt, suffered an absolute heartbreaker, and I think this one might have hurt Morocco even more because they definitely, in some way, was kind of the better team, especially the first half. They started very strongly, and this is the thing that I kind of made a mistake on my preview yesterday, where I said that both team was going to be just very flat and stuff like that. I didn't realize that Morocco was a team that don't really play that kind of style of football. They actually are a team that love to play that high-flying kind of attacking kind of football, and Iran is just a team that is going to play that negative football, just going to completely park the bus, trying to slow down the pace. And Morocco certainly showed that high-flying kind of stuff for the first 15 minutes, but Iran eventually did grow in the game. They could have, I'll tell you what, this game should have had the first goal, or should have had 2 goals in the first half. Like, there was actually chances for both of these teams to break through, and I think the reason why they didn't break through is because I'm pretty sure now we know that both teams, in terms of their attack, are not very clinical whatsoever. And, Iran had a one-on-one opportunity in the 43rd minute. When you see most teams, that should have been in the back of the net, but because Iran does not have a lot of quality going up front, that obviously sometime can happen. But, they eventually did get that goal late in the game, and really the second half was kind of what a lot of people expected and kind of what I expected, where it was a very slow-paced game. And part of that might have to do with the fact that Iran really slowed the pace down. They really kind of nullified the Morocco attack. They saw what happened in the first half, where they were absolutely getting bombed forward by, well, not bombed forward, but getting burned by these Morocco attacker, and just them not really doing very well on the defense. But eventually, I think they kind of get reorganized in the second half, and they really stick to their game plan, which is just try to not making sure that Morocco really get into a rhythm on the attack. Just kind of have this slow pace kind of game, just kind of maybe grind out a 0-0 draw, or even a surprising 1-0 win, gets some miraculous kind of break like what they did in this one. And really, I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce this name because I don't know how you pronounce it, his name. But really, he was very unlucky in this goal, because the free kick, it was a very free kick to deliver it in, and he unfortunately just hit it into his back of the net. That usually is always the most difficult position and most difficult situation for a defender, because if you let it go, then maybe one of the Iranian player will just tap that one into the back of the net, and then but if you hit it and you don't hit it well, it might end up into the back of the net, and that is exactly what happened. So certainly this is heartbreaking for Morocco, and I really kind of felt for them, because now this with this loss, you kind of have a feeling that Morocco potentially are not going to go through. You know, this was a game I thought that for both of these teams there was a lot at stake. Like, we know that both of these teams potentially might not get through, but if they really want to challenge Portugal and Spain, one of these teams have to step up. And you know, Morocco will always think about what ifs in the first half, and how I just feel like if they could have just put away one of those chances early on, then I really think that Iran wouldn't have had any opportunity to even get a goal in this game. But fair play to Iran, and certainly you wonder, will that same kind of tactics will work against Portugal and Spain? I mean, there was a couple of times that Iran definitely looked very shaky on defense, but that's kind of what you expected, because you know they're definitely a good defensive team, but they're not like the best defense in the world. And there are at times where players is gonna switch off on that team and just leave some gaps. And yeah, we'll see how that's gonna goes for them when they play Portugal and Spain. But yeah, moving on into the match that I'm pretty sure you guys probably are tuning in. In fact, I'm just going to even put a timestamp on my description. For those of you that don't want to hear me talk about Egypt versus Uruguay and Iran versus Morocco, which I feel a little bit disappointed for you guys, because these two games, despite the fact that they weren't the most entertaining game, they had some late game kind of drama and stuff like that. But this was the game that pretty much a lot of people were talking about. I forgot to mention that this was actually a derby. This was actually the Iberian derby, because both countries are sitting in the Iberian Peninsula. And you know, for this game, yeah, it was very hyped up for this game. This was always a game that a lot of people would definitely tune in, and this is just between two very good European teams facing each other head to head. And boy, this game did not disappoint one bit. I mean, Portugal and Spain drawing 3-3, and obviously the headlines is going to be CR7 scoring a hat-trick. And remember how yesterday I wear the same shirt yesterday, and I'm kind of like wearing it again? Maybe that was a coincidence that when I wear a team shirt, then that team will actually do well, and specifically that I wear a CR7 jersey, and that, you know, since Portugal Spain play, maybe that means that Portugal is going to do something good, and CR7 was going to do something miraculous and very magical. I mean, I don't believe in that kind of superstition. I'm not a guy that whenever I wear this jersey wanna put a jinx on the team, but maybe that was a little bit of a coincidence. But getting into this match, actually, like I said, CR7 scored the hat-trick. The goals for Spain, Diego Costa with the brace, and Nacho with an absolute banging of a goal. And that goal certainly could potentially be, at the end of the tournament, the goal of the tournament. But, you know, Portugal got off to a very good start. Ronaldo, of course, drew a penalty. Some people were not happy that that was a penalty, because it looks like Ronaldo basically dragged his leg onto Nacho, and, you know, that's pretty much the reason why he went down. But I don't think that is... I think that's definitely a penalty. I don't think that is something that you could say that is not a penalty. I think that is a very smart play by Ronaldo, and you've seen him done that a couple of time, and you know, as you expected, he converted a penalty in the 4th minute. But then Spain really started to get back in the game. Portugal was very good on the counter-attack for the first half of this game. They were absolutely devastating that Spanish defense whenever they go on the break. But Spain was very good in possession, and they really they find all the solution to try to break down this Portugal defense. I mean, this Portugal defense was really let's just say that they were hanging on for dear life for most of the time, and eventually Costa did score the goal in the 24th minute. And again, this is another controversial goal because originally when the lead up to the goal, it looked like Costa basically swing his forearm into Pepe, and that should have been probably a foul. The referee did kind of go. Well, he didn't go to VAR, but he did contact the VAR official to see if that is going to be a foul, but they said no. And some people will say that that is obviously a foul by Costa, but that's just typical Diego Costa right there. He is a guy that is going to do anything and everything to get an advantage. And, I know that probably that should have been a foul, but, one thing that I think maybe determined why that wasn't a foul was because of Pepe. And Pepe has always had this reputation of the fact that he went down way too easily and that he kind of like clutched his face just kind of like with very little contact, and maybe that's why they didn't call it. But then again, you can say the same thing about Costa, of how he has the reputation of just swinging his arms toward opponent, making bad fouls toward opponent, being a very hot head. And the referee decided to not call that foul, and Costa, of course, scored the goal. And then Ronaldo, of course, scored that second goal just before halftime. And David De Gea, wow, that was an absolute howler by De Gea. I mean, I think he probably studied some tape from Loris Karius in the Champions League final, because he basically just spilled that one. I mean, Ronaldo was basically hit that ball straight into Karius' hand, and he basically just spilled it. Now, there is a report that De Gea did kind of suffer a concussion in this game, and I'm not quite sure if that is actually real or if that's just a kind of a troll kind of thing, because I did check on Twitter that people keep saying that De Gea suffer a concussion and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's actually true. And if it is true, then that is going to be a huge blow to Spain in terms of that goalkeeper position, because I really think De Gea is probably one of the more reliable player on that Spanish national team in terms of the goalkeeper position. And okay, yes, he didn't have a good game at all. In fact, I think this was one of his worst game that I ever seen. And besides the howler that he made, he had a couple of moments where he was certainly nothing like the De Gea that we know, and he made some couple of mistake of coming off his line a little bit too quickly, or maybe when he tried to punch the ball away, it just punched it right into one of the Portugal player. But yeah, it definitely was one of his worst performance, and we don't know if it is true that he did suffer in concussion, and if he does, then you kind of have to, it's going to be a huge blow to Spain, in that you really think that he is not going to be playing for Spain in the next match, because you can't just put a guy that has a concussion and just decide to put them in. I mean, even though he is a goalkeeper and he's not a field position, goalkeeper, when they get concussion, yeah, it's just as the same as when a field player gets concussion. They can get, they are very, they can get a very big risk of potentially maybe get knocked out if they get clashed into heads. And keep in mind, goalkeeper, when they go up to catch the ball, and then sometimes when the ball is coming in and the goalkeeper are trying to catch the ball, sometimes they are vulnerable to those head-to-head collision, because the attacker sometimes might be going for the same ball, and then sometimes you see most of the time where players just accidentally hit the goalkeeper, or even most likely whenever there's a set piece opportunity, whenever there was a ball floating in, the goalkeeper head is always one of the most vulnerable spot whenever that happened. But let's just hope that he is all right. And then, of course, in the second half, Spain really kind of dominate the second half, and they showed their dominance was paid off with Costa scoring his second goal to make it 2-2. Very nice kind of patient by Costa to just cut in and cuts out and eventually find a gap to shoot that one into the back of the net. And then I already talked about the Nacho goal. That was an absolute bomb of a goal. I mean, that was absolutely rocketed off the post and into the back of the net. And at that point was 3-2. And really, throughout the remaining game, everybody thought that, you know, Spain was going to win this one. Portugal was kind of like running out of energy. And really, the pace of this game really slowed down in the last 15 minutes. But Ronaldo, of course, stepped up in the 86th minute, and it was a needless foul by, I believe it was Piqué or Busquets that made a foul, and basically that was just a perfect position for CR7. Like, when I saw that position, I had a feeling that CR7 is going to just put that one away, and little do we know, 30 seconds later, he put that one away in the top right kind of post. I mean, that is just a textbook kind of a World Cup free kick goal that you will ever see. But, you know, going forward, obviously, you know, certainly I think that for Spain, you know, they'll be very disappointed that they weren't able to get a win. I think they, in some way, they were a little bit better than Portugal is. And, you know, Portugal was really kind of like carried by CR7. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, if this is a team that is just going to keep relying on CR7, then this team is not going to go that far into the World Cup, because everybody will just man mark. They will just literally not even allow CR7 any space and any opportunity to score. And Spain actually does a good job that doing the second half. They absolutely man mark. They absolutely cut any sort of passing lane to Ronaldo, and, you know, unfortunately, just a needless foul that they give up right at the end was the difference of them getting all 3 points and only getting a point out of this. But, you know, for me, I think that both of these teams are still favorite of going to the next round, although both of these teams, now that they have played each other, you know, I really think if one of these teams slip up against Iran and Morocco, then that could be a huge problem in terms of them moving on to the next round. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my review of this day 2. It's a little bit longer because there was so much to talk about from this day 2. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.